All right, welcome everybody. Mark Hoppin here at WhiskyWhistle live with Bry Simpson.
I'm too tall.
You're too tall.
Yeah.
With Bry Simpson, the Canadian ambassador for Glenmorangie and Ardbeg and everything else from LVMH here in Canada. Not the handbags.
Not the handbags. No.
Unfortunately.
I look after Glenmorangie and Ardbeg for Canada, and also as well I do a little bit of an education for our tequila brand, which is Volcan Tequila as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What's the brand of tequila?
Volcan. Yeah.
I'll have to try that. Very cool. All right, now we just had a very, very amazing, I guess I'd call it a masterclass here with Bry Simpson at the Grove Pub and Restaurant here in Winnipeg. And I'm just going to pull myself up so I can see who's chatting. We got one person who's joined in. This is spur of the moment, so we probably will only have a few people that'll trickle in the middle of the day. But I can watch myself just as we're doing that. Is this a mind bender? All right, so now, first of all, you're the Canadian ambassador, and why don't you introduce yourself to Canada? Tell us where you're from and how this all came about.
Yeah, so I've actually been back and forth between Canada and Scotland for a long time. I first moved to Canada 10 years ago, but been back and forth because of different issues, but very proud to call myself a permanent resident of Canada. In terms of back home in Scotland, I've always kind of seen myself as part of the whisky community for a decent amount of time. Biggest achievement I'd probably say in my life before I got this job was that the whisky club that I started, or had part in starting I should say, and that's called the Hip Flask Hiking Club. And it was one of the best ways for me to actually learn and express my passion about Scotch whisky.
Now you gave me the card last year, which I still have in my wallet, so that's really cool. It's a square card. That's really amazing that you chose something a little bit different for that.
We're a bit mad anyway in our club anyway, but you know it's been that was really the one thing that pushed on towards it being just the idea of having a few drams with my friends and actually getting a chance to really doing tastings and starting to learn about it. And also as well, the best way to learn in my opinion is to have like-minded people and share a dram with them.
Now when did that start?
Oh, nowadays, oh my word, it's probably, I guess 7 years ago?
7 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if membership is always a metric of how great a club is doing, but I mean, how many members have you got?
We're pretty laid back about it. We sort of started off and it was only about maybe I think it was 6 of us at our first tasting, and essentially it was just starting off in my. I live in Inverness, and there was 6 of us at the apartment that I lived in then, and we just chipped in for a couple of bottles of whiskey, and we're quite happy that was our club. But now we actually have this amazing team that's there, and they've kind of built it up to around about, I think it's 30 members we have that's there. But the most important thing is not necessarily how many it is the fact that there's people who weren't friends before, and now they're friends, and they've been able to have something to not just going out for a dram, just with 1 or 2 people. Pretty much everywhere you go, you see our T-shirts in Glasgow now.
Amazing. I need one of those T-shirts.
Everyone does. Everyone does. It's hilarious. There's actually a lot of people in Canada who've been calling out for me to take our merch over here.
I think I have. Would you like a T-shirt or would you like a hoodie?
Oh, from your club?
From the Winnipeg Whisky Club.
Both.
All right. Okay, that I can do.
Yeah.
Now, a year ago, at the whiskey bar at the Toad in the Hole.
Oh yeah.
We met for the first time there.
That's right, yeah.
And I had shared about starting the Winnipeg Whisky Club, and you were very, very enthusiastic.
Yep.
And incredible. It's just been an incredible year, and so. We have just as you said. We started with 7 people, and most of whom I didn't know from. How do you say? I didn't know from John. I didn't know. However that goes.
From Adam, I think it is.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Adam, John.
And now I call them my best friends. They're a great group of people. And we'd love to have you join one day if that ever works for your schedule.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe a Winnipeg Whisky Club Glenmorangie night.
Oh, why not?
Or Ardbeg.
Why not? Or Ardbeg, yeah.
Or both.
I've got a whiskey for everyone. Remember that.
Now we've got a few people coming to say hi. H. Hemphill, who is he is a person who joins every single live stream from everybody, including Aquavite. Roy, have you met Roy yet?
Roy, I think, is a part of the Hip Flask Hiking Club now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he's always there. So say hello to H. Hemphill. Hello. And we also have Greg's Whiskey Guide who's joined. Thanks for jumping in the middle of the afternoon, guys. That's great. Now, let's talk about the matter at hand today.
Oh, yeah.
We had an incredible lineup of amazing Glenmorangie whiskey. Should we start with the new thing? Let's start with the new since it's sitting right here.
Well, I think in terms of, I was invited. I was actually in Saskatoon this morning, and my flight
Saskatoon's about 700 kilometers to the west.
Yeah. It's quite a short flight, but my flight got delayed, and essentially I pretty much jumped off the plane in Winnipeg and came here and had one of the most amazing lunches because we had some food and 6 delicious Glenmorangies to go with it. But what was a surprise for me is that when I arrived, we had our new Glenmorangie 14 years old, the Quinta Ruban, because this is a whiskey that is not actually rolled out to everywhere in Canada yet, and I think they were expecting to have this a little bit later, perhaps the next couple of months here in Winnipeg. And my colleague that was here said, "You're going to have a surprise when you get to your tasting," and I walked into this and I was delighted because and I believe this was the first place in Winnipeg for people to try it as well.
Sure it was.
Yeah. So this was in terms of this whiskey here. We had some of our amazing lineup here, but this was one that was a big hit, and also as well, it's a good surprise for me to have. Yeah. Well, I've actually got a wee glass here for you. Yeah. So some of you might remember that we have a Glenmorangie Quinta Ruban port cask finish, 12 years old, and that was in a black box and a black label.
Yes, right.
So we've actually changed it up, and now we have a 14 years old. The reason that we switched from a 12 to the 14 is that we went out to a lot of Glenmorangie fans, and we sort of asked them, what really is it that you like about the Quinta Ruban 12? Two of the flavours that came around quite a lot were the idea of like Seville orange and dark chocolate. So kind of that tangy orange you got in the Quinta Ruban. And our whiskey creation team, Dr. Bill Lumsden, Brendan McCarran, Gillian McDonald, it was up to them to sort of say, well, how do you amplify those flavours but still keep it a Glenmorangie? Because that's the one thing that's important about Glenmorangie, is we really do stick to our house style. Whiskeys are remarkably different to each other, but it's all Glenmorangies.
Right.
And that's a challenge.
You know you're drinking Glenmorangie. I think that's one of the things that attracted me to the whole brand, was that there's such continuity from 10 years old all the way up to Signet as well, although that is very different.
The Signet's probably the most different of them, I'd probably say. And bear in mind that in terms of some of our whiskies, we sort of think of Glenmorangie 10 years old, our cask collection, our extra matured range. You think of those and the 18 years old. I sort of see that there, as that's where the Glenmorangie house style really can be.
Like this. Does that work?
If it works for you, that's fine.
Kind of works.
Yeah.
All right.
So in terms of so a 14 years
Oh, I'm
old.
blocking your face.
That's
No,
not a
I
bad
can't
thing.
do that. No.
You're going to get more followers
Handsome
and things like
man.
that now.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Now, so let's just have a little taste of this one.
Slange.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Slange. I never say it because I'm not. I feel like I'm not Scottish. I don't have the right to say Slange. But
What's your background?
Danish. My parents are Danish. On my dad's side, my mother's from Ukraine. So, Skål is
Skål.
also
Skål.
There we go.
Skål. That's much better. So you do get
Ramped
that orange.
up.
You do get that. Yeah, ramped up perhaps. Yeah. You do get that dark chocolate that's on the back
Totally.
there as well. But what a lot of people have been liking about it so far, if you're a fan of the 12-year-old Quinta Ruban, a lot of people are still fans of the 14 years old. That's very important.
Yeah.
Very, very important. I think that's where the skill of our whiskey creation team really come in. That idea of creating a new whiskey can be quite daunting, and because it's good and fun for them to actually make a new whiskey. But you have to remember is that we've got a huge amount of followers, a huge amount of fans who have been really passionate about Glenmorangie. And the Quinta Ruban, for me, I've always seen the Quinta Ruban was our cult whiskey of the lot.
Right.
So to change that up to a 14 years old, you have to make sure that the people who love the 12-year-old, they're going to like at least but probably love the 14 years
Absolutely,
old.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I think they've done a fantastic job, and I think it's a real hats off to them.
So it's been a long time since I've actually tasted the black. I have some samples at home from my bottle in Korea that I brought back with me, and I haven't dipped into them yet. I will when I review this on the channel. But what I can say is I immediately noticed that it's older. I get that right off the bat, and it's a bolder, ramped up version of what I already loved. And for me, I think this is totally eclipses the 12-year-old in my opinion. Side by side, I wonder if I did it blind, would I choose this one? I have a feeling that I would, but
I'll tell you what, in all honesty, I had to actually, because I'm such a big fan of the 12 years old, it was like, okay, I got to try the 14 years old where I was over in the lab with Gillian in October of last year. It was the first time for me trying it, and it was the 14 years old alone, and I tried the 14 years old, I absolutely love that whiskey. But doing it side by side with the 12 and the 14 was very interesting, and I just took the blinkers off. I'm like, you know what? It should never be one's better than the other. And I think that's the thing with all whiskies.
You raised a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
If you do that, then you take the fun out of it.
Right.
I think it's
just
very
becomes
good.
A race.
That's it. Yeah. And I think for both of them, they both stand on merits. But for someone that already loved the 12-year-old, I have fallen in love with the 14-year-old as
awesome.
well.
Now, there has been a flood of people that have joined. We've got 12 people watching now.
Wow. Actual celebrities.
Just very quickly. Greg's Whiskey Guide I already mentioned. We have Macallan Fine and Rare, the Docs. Let's say hello, Doc.
Hi.
And Loch Ness, he is in Ontario. He's joined in. Hello, Loch Ness is his handle. Loch Ness.
It's Loch Ness.
I think it's because of Loch Ness. I think it is, actually. And we have Joe F. who's joined. Hi, Joe F. Any other questions? If you have a question for Bryan Simpson, please tag me at WhiskyWhistle and ask the question. That way it pops out in red, okay? And Joe says I can set down the mic. Well, I'll leave it up. Does it sound okay now? Let me know that if the quality is good. We'll just carry on. The din in the back of the room is pretty strong. I think there's people waiting for this guy to leave. So we'll try to carry on here. So we went through Glenmorangie Original. And that for me is something that I will bring to a party, that I will make sure I pretty much always have on hand at least once, twice, maybe 3 times a year. La Santa was nice for me to reacquaint myself. Pretty big sherry notes just for 2 years of finishing.
I think part of that is because you're using the Pedro Jimenez casks, which are, there's a fair amount of flavour in those. I mean, PX itself, like in terms of how sweet those casks are, even after a short space of time, it's quite, not say dominant, but there's a fair amount of influence only after those 2 years. The idea with the La Santa though is not to have the Oloroso or the PX dominating. They're meant to come together.
They work so nicely together.
And I think that's it. It's a very lovely sweet sherry cask whiskey.
And then we moved on to the Quinta Ruban 14-year-old, which I think for a lot of people stole the show. Next up was Nectar d'Or, and again, it's been a while since I have purchased a bottle of Nectar d'Or. And the Sauternes casks, which are, I think, amazing, work very well with Glenmorangie. I wonder how much does the noble rot affect the flavor?
Yeah, so I mean, you can kind of compare it a little bit to Canada. If you think of your as the botrytis is like attacking the grape, because it's shrinking up to, I believe it's about a quarter of its size, you're getting those intense flavours. Unfortunately, you don't get a huge amount of wine. The yield is very low of that, and that's quite similar to ice wine. But as opposed to ice wine, where it's the temperature that's affecting it's the botrytis. And myself, I am a big fan of a lot of noble wines, and with Sauternes, I first tried Sauternes about I think it was like 5 years ago, and I was just giving a glass. No one told me what it was, and I immediately fell in love with it. And it was actually I didn't actually put the two things together in terms of trying the Nectar d'Or first, then the Sauternes. It was later on. I'm like, that actually is a perfect match.
Amazing.
I think Glenmorangie and Sauternes cast to say a match made in heaven.
Well, amazing. I haven't tried the Sauternes yet. I have had Tokai, which is also similarly nobly wrought.
Yeah.
But
Tokai, interestingly enough, like Tokai was because there are like, I guess, some similarities between them. And Tokai was one that me and my friends actually drank back in Scotland a few years back. And again, tried Sauternes first, into Tokai, and I love Tokai. I think Tokai is a fantastic type of wine.
What is it called? Putaño, the sweetness level? Which
Yeah,
one do
yeah.
you prefer?
I've only tried a few of them in terms
yeah.
of the ones, and I think it's like 5. So I
Five.
think I believe the idea of
seems to be
Tokai is like
standard.
you pretty much just throw in more of the grapes into there.
Yeah,
to
right.
enhance the
That's
sweetness.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's very fortunate in Scotland. I used to work at a store, a liquor store. It's called the Good Spirits Company, and some of the most talented people I've ever met in the industry work at the Good Spirits Company.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you're ever...
I've heard of it before. That's right.
Yeah.
I feel like there's someone there that's working now that is fairly active on social media, but I can't recall. Is that Chris Goodrow? I might be thinking of the wrong. Anyway, interesting.
But yeah, but in terms of working with those sort of people, in terms of who actually were able to educate me about wine, but when we were trying the things at Scotch Heron and Tokai, the most important thing is not necessarily to learn about it first. They were saying that try it first, see what you like about it, then you sort of go on from there. And Tokai was definitely one. Tokai was one that I really got excited about.
It's hard to get in Manitoba, unfortunately.
I can imagine.
Now, I want to tell you a little bit about my firstly, my Glenmorangie progression, and I'm actually glad my wife's not here. My wife is supposed to join us here today. Hi, Ine. Sorry that you're not here. You missed out on some amazing Glenmorangie. But I started with the very first private edition, Sonalta PX, and I had enjoyed whiskey before, but never actually bought a bottle of single malt. I think I had bought maybe Johnny Walker Black Label at some point in the past, but so I brought this home from the airport, opened it up, shared it with my wife. We thought we had died and gone to heaven, invited all our friends over, and the bottle was gone within, I don't know, like maybe 2 weeks or so. This is right around my birthday, actually.
Yeah.
And so then every time we traveled, we would buy something else from Glenmorangie.
Yeah.
And I think about my lifetime expenditures on whiskey, Glenmorangie holds the lion's share with probably 10 original, 4 La Santa, 6 Quinta Ruban, no 8 now because I bought 2 of these. Sorry, Ine. And Nectar d'Or, about 4 of them. The 18, 2 of them, one for my mother, one for me. An old 15, an old 10, 2 Alta.
Wow.
Milshan, Bacalta. My favorite private edition was number 5. Using the barley variety.
Yeah, so that's to sale?
To sale.
Yeah. So that's using Maris Otter barley.
Yes.
There's well, I tell you what, thank you for supporting Glenmorangie.
No.
Yeah, you're keeping us going.
Thank you to Dr. Bill Lumsden and Brendan McCarran for doing such a great job.
Yeah. And Gillian McDonald as well.
Yes, I've never met before, and I hope to someday, one day I'll visit your distillery.
Yeah.
Now, where do you live in Canada when you're not touring?
Yeah, I live in Toronto, but my job takes me all over Canada, of course. So I say I live in Toronto technically. I usually live in hotels. And Toronto's got a fantastic whiskey culture.
Absolutely.
One of the bars that's in Toronto is called the Caledonian.
I've heard of this. In
Yeah.
fact, a lot of the Whiskey Club members talk about it and want to go there, and I haven't been yet myself either. So what's it like?
Well, although we're talking about Glenmorangie today, of course we can't talk about the Caledonian without talking about Ardbeg. At Ardbeg we have what's called Ardbeg Embassies.
Yeah.
So these will kind of be fans of Ardbeg, and they want to showcase Ardbeg as a flagship. And the Caledonian was the first Ardbeg embassy in Canada.
Wow,
and
amazing.
It still remains. They are Ardbeg fanatics, which are in there all the time. And I'm pretty much part of the furniture there. So in terms of me going in, it's such an amazing thing to have such an amazing community who are actually enjoying Scotch whisky of any description. The one thing I would say is that one thing is, as long as people are promoting Scotch whisky and good quality products, then I'm all for it. And the Caledonian is a fantastic hub for those people who are passionate about it.
Well, I'll go there one day, and if I go to Toronto and you happen not to be away, why don't we go there together?
Oh, I love it. Love that
Good.
idea. Cheers.
Now, with one question from Greg's Whiskey Guide. Greg
Okay,
runs a great blog from France, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong, Greg. And he asks the question, where can I find it here? And that is a question for the brand ambassador, Bryan. How many bottles of the 18-year-old are produced worldwide yearly, please?
I'm going to have to get an exact number on that, so I could probably answer another time, if that's okay. But usually the way it works is when it comes to the batches, we'll do either 1 or 2 batches of it a year.
Okay.
It's not a whiskey that we can constantly release all the way right through the year. And it's also quite an unusual whiskey to make. It's not just as simple as having bourbon cask and sherry casks. So one parcel will be 18 years old, all in bourbon cask. The second parcel is 15 years in ex-bourbon casks, then transferred to finished off for 3 years in all our other sherry casks, and then brought back together again at the end. So it's a whiskey that honestly it's worth the effort, but it's not necessarily the easiest whiskey to put together. But I'll get back.
Yeah,
It's Greg, right?
Greg, yeah.
Yeah, Greg, I'll get back to you.
And I'll put it in the comment.
Yeah.
Logistically, I can imagine that probably it's going to be a full pallet or half a pallet per market per year. Would be my guess.
Sure.
Anyway,
that's my guess.
We'll see. If,
that's our guess. We'll find
we'll
out.
check in and check that out.
If you're spot on, we'll get you a bottle of Glenmorangie 18 as a prize.
Oh, well, you're on camera, so it's witnessed by 12 people. Well, fantastic. I don't want to keep you too long. Bryan's got lots of places to go after this today. So thanks for joining in, and thanks for giving me the time with you today. And I think hopefully one day we'll have you at the Winnipeg Whiskey Club.
Yeah.
And if I see you, I don't know how long you're here for this trip.
So I fly out on Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Then, well, I do have, I think you're a medium though.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm a large.
You're large. Okay. Well, then I think I have a T-shirt and a hoodie for you. So I'll do my best to get it to you either this time around or next.
We'll do an exchange with the
fantastic.
Club ones as well.
That's great.
Cheers.
All right.
the best. Skål.
Cheers. Skål.
Cheers.
Slanja.
Slanja.
Cheers, everybody.
It's a belter, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that one.
Yeah.
I'm glad I bought 2.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Mark.